What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video I bring you news for Romancing SaGa ReUniverSe. We just got the announcement of two new banners, Romancing Festival Dolores and Romancing Festival Lolo. Well, Lolo was not supposed to come on this week, only 2 weeks later, and being released together with Dolores is really hard because many people barely have enough gens to pull for her, and now we want to pull for both. They are two meta characters, we already have the information about them. Since they didn't have too many buffs, I will go to RSRS.xyz website instead of Reddit because it's a little easier to comprehend seeing the game data. We have 120% endurance win with Lolo, but low STR and agility. Now, on the start of battle, he will increase the max BP of everyone in the squad by 5 points permanent in battle, and also recover 3 BP. Then on turn 3, he does it again, and instead of recovering 3, he recovers 5. And then on turn 6, he does it yet again, increasing it by another 5, and then recovering 7 BP. So Lolo can increase your BP count by 15 points and also recover BP while doing so. That's super good because some boss fights will try to change your BP and increase the cost, decrease the maximum, and he fixes all the problems with this. It reduces damage taken at all times by 40%, and sadly this is his only damage reduction passive. This is the price you have to pay to use Lolo, but there's a lot of things that he applies that he still becomes defensive. Remember that he also has 120% endurance and will. This was buffed, in JP it's lower than 100. Now, he has 7 BP per turn without even attacking from 2 different passives. He also casts 5 stacks of hit ups of 10%, that will increase damage potential by 50%. On turn 5 onwards, but also an attack boost of 15% for everyone, meaning 65% damage increase just from his passive. And he will also cast 5 familiar protection at start of battle. And what is family protection? His main gameplay that will be applied to everyone, and when this person is attacked, he will activate 2 different effects once per stack. A 50% attack boost and a 20% defense boost. Both last for 2 turns. So that's interesting because it will be better for you to use him with Hana, because if your character is on delay, it will actually be able to get the attack boost twice. So, for example, you can get up to 250% attack boost just from this alone, without Lolo even attacking and applying more. And you will get lots of defense boost, so if the enemy attacks before you, it will just keep stacking. Kinda similar to how you use Hana as well. So he can even improve Hana potential in some squads, but it's not really necessary. Enemies will attack multiple times, the defense boost part does not require any other character or formation. Only the attack boost is better if you attack after the enemy. Then he has a 25% chance by the end of a turn to recharge his skill number 3. We'll be talking more about that later. But every time that he attacks, he changes with 2 different skills, Cat left claw and Cat's right claw. Well, those attacks are slash based. He is a slash damage dealer even though he is MRs, because Cats likes to scratch things. And look, those 2 attacks are crazy. The right claw is offensive and the left claw is defensive. He's going to cast another family protection on each of his attacks. And the offensive part will give you BP and an attack boost. The attack boost will reach 30% as a command and 25% as a chase. Now, the left claw will heal your HP instead of giving BP. And instead of giving an attack boost, will give you a defense boost that will then decrease damage taken by 15%. So, okay. 2 different effects that will always be landing when you are attacking. Okay, then you can actually choose which claw you want to use to double down the effects. Some people will prefer to give more BP, some people will prefer to give more HP and defense boosts. Depend on the fight, if you already have other cards already applying defense boosts or anything. If you need extra BP, use this, but remember that Lolo already gives you BP recover and increasing your max BP. But then he has a skill tree, that's Cat's Rush Bite. This one will give you familiar protection as well. So when you are attacking, you always have 3 familiar protection. That means you're gonna stack 3 times attack boost and defense boost. So because this effects last for 2 turns, you have to think that Lolo will give you at least 6 stacks of this. The attack boost is different because if you don't attack after the enemy, you actually benefit of only 3. But you will always benefit from 6 defense boosts because of the way it works. After the enemy attacks, you're gonna trigger, and it's just 1 hit to trigger the effect. Now, the third skill, it's fast. It has S power, and the other ones has only A power. This one costs 13 BP, the other ones cost 9. And he will decrease BP cost by 2 points for 2 turns. That's kind of like BP generation, but in reverse. And also an attack boost, again, of 30%, and a defense boost of 15%. It's kind of like giving everything at the same time. Both claws. Okay, so like I said, you are already getting the other effects from both claws, and you have 25% chance to recover the usage of this claw, as you can see here. So you start the fight, use skill 3, and use it as much as you can. And then you go back to either skill 1 or skill 2 and keep using, and either offensive or defensive. Well, Lolo, good thing is that he is someone that works in any type of squad. He does not need specific companions. Like I said, he does make Hana better, but all of his buffs and effects cannot be negated by the enemy. Like, he does not buff status, so it always works. Lolo is a meta character because he gives you way too many defense boosts and even attack boosts in BP generations. Lolo by himself is usually enough to fix many of the character cycles, but if he is used together with Suna, he's even better, because Suna heals, something that Lolo doesn't. Suna buffs status, something that Lolo doesn't. And the only thing that you'll be missing out here will be probably, I guess, overdrive stuff, and you can get from someone else. 2 characters that will cover most stuff in the game. So Lolo is a very good character, and he's like a 5.5 out of 5. Like I said for Tsuna, he breaks the meta, is really useful, and a must-have in my opinion. From his banner there is also Scarecrow, and Scarecrow has 107% endurance and will. Those are just average values. Then 130% dexterity with 97% agility. Well, his dexterity is kinda good, but nothing special. Moving on, he reduces damage taken for all lines by 30%. Starts the fight with 12 BP, and then grants all enemies this maddening brand. That's crazy, because it's kind of like Crazy Love from Rock Bouquet, where this effect is landing on the enemy, and when you attack the enemy with blunt attacks, you're gonna cast attack boost to your party. The attack boost will be of 15% and will last for 2 turns. On the start of the battle, he will cast this effect for 5 stacks, but he can keep casting it more via skills. Okay, but on start of turns, he gives this passive where if you use blunt attacks, you're going to recover 2 BP, only once. But, for example, if you are on Remembrance with the Scarecrow, most of the gunners will use blunt attacks anyway, so you are giving 2 BP for all of them. Also, when they use blunt attacks, they will cast a defense boost, small, but itself. So that is a 10% damage reduction, and it lasts for 2 turns. The good thing is that there's no limit to this. For example, Liam will get plenty of these effects. And then they will also self-buff endurance and will when they attack by 20%. Again, no limit, so characters that have way too many chains will benefit. Even Scarecrow. By the end of a turn, he gets 45 points of OG Gotcha. This was changed from JP, that was only 25. Then we have Scarecrow Gift 5. All surviving allies attacks will then cause critical damage versus birds and flying enemies. Nothing really special. This will increase damage by 20%. He will then increase his own damage by 30%, and when attacked by an attack that will cause resist, reduces damage taken by 40%, and also 37% chance to resist, evade resisted attacks. When he lands an attack, he recovers BP by 1. He already recovers at least 2 extra via his passive, and always when attacking, he will chase with switch. That is attack that attacks 2 times random targets. He will also trigger Urpina passive from this if you decide to use Urpina with Scarecrow. And when using Overdrive, he is going to double the skills 2 or 3. Okay, what are those skills? Let's say Snapping Shot or Jumping Snipe are his main skills. One is double S power single target. Okay, doesn't feel strong. It isn't. Or AoE B power attack. That it also doesn't feel strong because it isn't as well. But it will also cast the Maddening Brand either 10 times for single target or 5 times for AoE. Both effects will last for 2 turns. And if you are on Overdrive, you're gonna chase again with this skill and then chase with Switch. That is actually his first skill. So you can actually cast 20 stacks of Maddening Brand on single target or 10 stacks on AoE. So the attack boost that you're gonna cast will last for 2 turns. Theoretically, you can even double the effects once more on the next turn. And 15% multiplied by 20, it's 300% damage increase. That does seem a lot, but we were just discussing Lolo that gives so much other stuff that this doesn't feel that much in the end of the day, right? Because Scarecrow barely does any damage. But he does help some other characters, like, for example, Minstrel, if you got Minstrel recently. And he will help on Remembrance because, like I said, all gunners will do some sort of blunt damage, and he will just improve your damage output by applying so many attack boosts. But he's very simple. I don't think there's too much to say about Scarecrow. He is probably just 4 out of 5 because you can still improve damage by so much. Like I said, if you use Overdrive twice, you can improve attack boost by 600% for some characters, of course, because you still have to attack the enemy and each new hit will be giving you other attack boosts, so theoretically you never get a 600%. But it's okay, he is giving you other effects from all his specialties from blunt damage. He works pretty well with Minstrel, but also with Dentard, for example. Next one will be Gourmand, and Gourmand has 100% endurance, but 110% will, and 130% agility. Low SGR, just 92%. An M-Arts user, we are in lack of M-Arts, now we have 2 in his banner. And Gourmand is a specialist for Remembrance, and a very strange one. On the start of battle, he feels Overdrive Gorge for everyone. Well, he also has 40% damage reduction at all times, and by the end of a turn, always recovers HP by around 1.5 thousand. Also has 5 EP per turn, and will always get 25 points of OG Gouge. Now, for all allies that are using M-Arts, including himself, he's going to improve damage by 40%, and if they are attacked by an attack that will be resisted, will also reduce damage taken by 40%. That is for everyone in the party, okay? Also, on start of turn, he will trigger 5 times the following effects. Over Enhanced, 30% overdrive damage improvement, so you can reach as much as 150 by turn 5 and beyond. And also 20% damage improvement for M-Arts, reaching as much as 100%. So if you account for overdrive, you're gonna do 250% more damage, but the 100% works any day. Now, Gourmand has 2 different effects. The first one is called Therapeutic Nuts, that is permanent. The second one is Exciting Nuts, permanent as well. It only works for those equipped with M-Arts, and then you're gonna recover HP 2 times by very small. That should be around 800. You are also going to get 25 points of OG Gouge, but also 2 BP. So Gourmand is actually pretty similar to Rose, to Brownie, to Tyler, characters that are specialists for Remembrance, that will improve the performance of weapon type characters. So it's hard to make a full M-Art squad on normal content. Although Lolo is here to help out, but I don't know, it's still hard. Okay, skill 1 is free, 0 BP, nothing special, but take a note, Gourmand does pierce damage. It's not going to work with Scarecrow or even with Minstrel. The second and third skill are pretty much similar. Bolt will be healing HP, so Gourmand heals 3 times per turn. And then it will both cast the Hidden Art attack and the Hidden Art defense. This will give you a 15% damage increase for everyone that uses M-Arts and a 10% damage reduction for everyone that uses M-Arts. And then the next effect will be different. If you are using the therapeutic version, it will cast therapeutic nuts on overdrive attacks. That means that, okay, most characters get into overdrive every 2 turns these days, not all of them. Gourmand does have 25 points of OG Gouge. Everyone that attacks on overdrive now will get extra effects for 2 turns of the therapeutic nuts. More BP, more HP healing. Or exciting nuts if you choose Q3. More HP and more OG Gouge. I prefer the OG Gouge version, because this way you can actually get 50 points of OG Gouge by the end of turn. Depending on the fight, you can get into overdrive every turn by using Gourmand and choosing to use Exciting Nuts Party. But again, you need a full MR squad to get this. It's hard to make those types of squads, and Gourmand is Remembrance specialist. I would say Gourmand is a 3.5 out of 5 because of the difficulty to make squads for him. But for Remembrance, he's a 5 out of 5 for MRs. Anyway, this first banner we receive a gold award because of Lolo being meta and still one of the best characters in the game on JP. Then let's move into Dolores. Okay, Dolores is a heavy damage dealer with 141% STR, but 104% endurance and wheel. That's just average levels. 104% agility is actually okay. Let's move. She got a 20% damage increase in Lobo. When attacked, she also got a new one that decreases damage taken by 40% at all times. And then she decreases by another 30% at all times, with an extra 80% damage increase as well, so 120 total. Now, starts the fight with 13 BP, and then on the start of a turn, she will grant Weak Marker for bolt, slash, and shadow on all enemies. So you're going to grant slash and shadow defense down. The values are just 10%. Weak point focus decreases more by 20, so you want to take full benefit by using characters that have both slash and shadow so that you can decrease by 20 per hit. So you also get extra effects, like everyone that uses slash attacks will recover 1 BP when using slash attacks and 1 BP when using shadow attacks as well. So if the attack is both slash and shadow, you recover 2 BP. And there's no limit, you're gonna get it as much as you attack. She also has extra effects from second passive when attacking with slash and shadow. When using slash, she would then buff all surviving allies STR, dexterity, agility, and intelligence by 5%, and also an attack boost of 10%. But when attacking with shadow, she's going to buff endurance, will, love, and charisma by 5%, and then apply a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 10% just for that turn though. So you get some extra things, and she actually always chases when attacking weak targets. Okay, so she uses both slash and shadow, meaning that you will then be chasing on Remembrance every time, but for hard challenges you have to choose the fights she belongs. Now this attack she chases with is skill 3, Darkness Slash. Row, based, slash and shadow, attacks 5 times with 13 BP cost. That's actually amazing because some time ago 13 BP cost was left fork or other 5-hit attacks that was only single target. Being roll based means that she is essentially an easy button to beat the Hana Warrior Remembrance fight. And she would then attack 10 times. Each time she attacks, she would then also decrease the slash and shadow defense of the enemies. That just makes it every new hit do more and more damage. But you also want to use the second skill first. Death Metal Short will then be a shadow attack that can only be used once, but it will grant Death Made Soul to everyone. That's the passive where you are buffing 5% when using slash, and then 5% when using shadow, and giving attack and defense boost. So here we have a trick, right? We got Sugnus recently. Remember Sugnus? Such a powerful damage dealer. He is also slash and shadow. Not just him, but Sarun, but also Bune, but also other characters. And if you are using too many slash and shadow attackers, then they will be buffing status by a lot, but especially they will be giving lots of defense boost. And the most important thing here is that there's no limit to the triggers. For example, we have SaGa's chasing twice, so he will trigger 3 times this. 3 defense boosts of small effect. That's already pretty easy to take full benefit. Sadly, the best part comes from shadow attacks, not from slash. And it's harder to make full shadow squads or even find bosses that are weak to shadow. But if you already have SaGa and Dolores together, we will already give you some very nice results. You can still use her together with someone like Kihachi because she will be doing slash attacks and will be buffing the offensive part of Dolores' kit. Well, Dolores is an axe user, and because of that, she's super easy to use. She even has a skill that can buff break, as you can see here, but only buff breaks the offensive buffs, not the defensive ones. But most of the fights, enemies are actually just buffing offensive status. And not just by being an axe user, but also by being a specialist that makes SaGa's better and also other characters. She's a slash and shadow leader and takes the place of Johan in most squads if you just want to improve slash damage of Kihachi or SaGa's. But Johan is still okay to use, and he also benefits from Dolores herself because they will both be decreasing the slash resistance of the enemy. Dolores is important for the future, and if you pull it for SaGa's as well, she had a long longevity on JP, and that's why she also deserves a 5 out of 5. Now, next one will be Warrior. This guy here is much better than you think. We have 131% dexterity, 105% endurance and will, and 115% agility. Okay, so they gave him 20% damage increase. I don't know why, it's not that important. But he decreased damage taken by 40% at all times. And then he has 30% damage increase at all times as well. And then on combo, he's going to improve damage by 80%. And on overdrive by another 80%. So you actually reach as much as 190% damage increase just by this passive alone. And this guy has way too many different effects that are even a little hard to explain. But let's say they also changed his OG gauge. Now he gets 45 points. On GP was just 25. And on the start of a turn, he will recover 2 BP, so at least 5 BP per turn. And he has 3 different passives that trigger with different chances. The first 2 you have a 50% chance to trigger, and the last one has a 37% chance to trigger. The third one is the best one. It will allow your whole party to debuff enemies' status by 10%, and it can happen 3 times. If your character attacks and then chases twice, it takes full benefit. People like SaGa's, for example. But then we have other ones, like for example, the second, that is debuff to endurance, intelligence, and will. This one is not that good, just 3 status, right? But it has a 50% chance to trigger. And then the first one debuffs ScherBR, dexterity, and agility. Well, 3 different status that can be used for damage. Again, also 50% chance to trigger. So you can actually get, for example, the last one to trigger and then one of the first or second ones. And that will allow your characters to debuff the enemy so much that it will be doing 0 damage. But then if the enemy uses the 5 weaknesses mid-turn, it can actually be a big of a problem. But that will depend on boss behavior. It's not because of Warrior's problem. Now, on odd turns, he always gives you Elegant Flow, the version that debuffs ScherBR, dexterity, and agility. On even turns, he always gives you the version that debuffs endurance, intelligence, and will. And on every 3 turns, he always gives you the version that debuffs all status. So that will also stack with the other versions that are guaranteed and with the other versions that are random based. So yeah, you're gonna debuff so much with this character. Now there's more. When he attacks, he always chases with random shot 2 times. That's an AoE attack with C power. Why it's AoE? Because he can then debuff all enemies. Just understand that on these types of passives, if you are using AoE attacks, you will still be debuffing 10% of all of them. Now, he also has a 50% chance to chase with freestyle shot. That is his skill tree. Fast skill when used as command, single target, blunt based, and if the enemy already had the endurance debuffed, it will grant blunt attack boost to warrior. That will improve his blunt damage by 55% as command or 50% as a chase. Lasts for 3 turns and stacks. He can actually do some good damage eventually. And also, if the enemy already had the ScherBR debuffed, will cast a defense boost that will decrease damage taken by 25%, but just to warrior. For 3 turns, will stack as well. So you have only 50% chance to chase with this, but you can also use this skill as a command to kinda stack on defenses and attack. But sometimes you actually want to use his skill number 2 because this one is a buff break attack with 8 power and 5 EP cost is just simple. But warrior also wants to use fast attacks because fast attacks will help debuff the enemy. If he attack before the enemy, you will actually decrease damage taken and chance of being applied with ailments and all of that stuff. But there's even more. When you attack on overdrive, you will guarantee the version that debuffs all status by 10%. So he gets 45 points of OG Gauge by the end of a turn. Meaning that if he attacks in that turn where he was not on overdrive yet, he's totally going to reach overdrive. But if he already used overdrive in that turn, he will need extra support to reach overdrive. But if he theoretically reaches overdrive every single turn, enemies will do 0 damage. Unless they use Defy Weakness mid-turn to remove the buffs applied and then start attacking. Kinda like Megalith Dragon works on Remembrance. But he debuffs way too much. It's kinda broken. He is the next generation of J-Mew and Poe. Poe does have more effects to the party though. Like he had a defense boost and I believe a way to decrease the damage from source. So he just has even better debuffing mechanics, and if you didn't got that Minstrel, he's a good replacement, although Minstrel does have other ways to decrease damage taken as well. They also work well together if you want, although that will be for fights where the enemies keep attacking multiple times and then, I don't know, self-buffing too much, and then you can use them together. But it's more that you will get more out of Warrior if you didn't pull for Minstrel. He is ridiculous as a debuffer. It's hard to beat this guy, but Misty can still beat because Misty improves damage of the squad by a lot. But she's different. She needs your party to be hit to then debuff the enemy by a lot, but she still debuffs with fast skills anyway. Okay, Warrior is probably either a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5 because of his ridiculousness. It's because of amazing debuff skills. I do believe he's much better for those that skip Minstrel, but also a good one for any type of future Remembrance fights. He's also an easy button to just debuff way too much will and stun the roadblocker fight on Remembrance, but also works super well versus the Frogs and any other future Remembrance fight we may ever get. Water is not just about Remembrance, it is a character that works in any type of content. The next one will be Lita, and she's the less interesting of them all. 112% endurance is good for a mage, and also 112 for will, 132 intelligence, and 100% agility. Okay status. As for passive, she reduces damage taken for everyone in the party by 30%, and improves damage potential by 30% as well. She has an extra now on global 40% damage reduction, and she also has start of turn, all status buffs by 20%, and 2 BP for everyone. That's nice, right? All status buff and BP generation. She also has an extra damage reduction if she resists. She reduces damage by another 40% and has a 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. And by the end of a turn, she gets 1 extra BP. So she herself has 6 BP every turn easily. Multiple defensive layers, not going to take much damage. But now we have to talk about the second skill, Healing Link. When recovery actions are made, you activate many effects, like an attack boost that would then improve damage potential by 30% for 2 turns and stacks, a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 20%, 2 turns and stacks, and also buffs endurance and will by 20%. Okay, just by looking at this, it's already interesting, but you know, when someone dies in the party and you revive, it usually just dies right off again because it loses all your buffs when you die. That's why ScherBR is one of the only characters that are really capable of reviving someone because he blocks damage for that turn. Now, Lita will actually be the second best option as well because when she uses a skill Strike of Lightning, she would then stack this whole passive again. Now, what is a skill tree? That is a far row attack, blunt and lightning, S power, that grants the enemy defense down, decreasing the defense by 20%. But also applies a defense boost of 25% damage reduction for 2 turns and stacks. And that's what you're gonna use with her, especially since she has 6 BP per turn. But if you have other people giving her more BP, if you use this every single turn, you're gonna get the best effect. The good thing is that defense down stacks. It's not like war down. And the defense boost stacks as well. And it's role based, meaning that it was also designed for the Hana Warrior fight. And if you use it, for example, like, I don't know, 2 times, for example, you're going to get 2 stacks of that healing link. And then you actually want to use, for example, the heal spell, that is Sky Convalescence Plus. That's the same one that Building had, and now can be upgraded. It's a fast recovery spell that will recover HP from 0 to max, probably. Can only be used 2 times per battle until you recharge. Gives 2 BP for everyone. Will then apply evasion for 1 time, 1 turn. And all the extra effects. Like I said, if you use it, for example, like 2 times the skill number 3 before using Sky Convalescence, you're gonna apply the extra defense boost, the extra attack boost, and the extra endurance and will buff. This can be useful even for moments where you don't need to revive someone, just to apply the extra attack and defense boosts. But then in these moments, you can see that you are not using Strike of Lightning. But since the heal skill already applies defense boost anyway, we're always casting 25% defense boosts. And in some turns you have even more stacks of it because of usage of skill tree. Well, Lita has an interesting setup. It doesn't work always. On Remembrance, we were lacking defensive supports. She's the best one. She won't die easily, and she will allow you to get 2 extra BP every turn. And then in some turns you get even more via usage of Sky Convalescence. And by the end of every 3 turns, she gets another charge of Sky Convalences. And in JP was 5 turns. This was changed for global. Which is much better here, I believe, because you can decide to, for example, use Strike of Lightning 2 times, then Sky Convalences. Strike of Lightning 2 times, and then Sky Convalences. And stay with this setup. Skill number 1 is actually not really great anyway. But that's about it, I believe. Lita is the most skippable character of all of this. But she's still a Remembrance specialist that works outside of it. Like Gurman is amazing for Remembrance, but does not work outside easily. This banner also deserves a gold award, because Warrior is actually the 3rd best character of all 6. Lita is still good enough, like Scarecrow is. And Gurman is a specialist that's probably the less interesting one of all those 6. I didn't say, but I believe Lita deserves a 4 out of 5, so you can see that we have better companions for Lita banner, generally speaking. But Lolo is a more important character than Dolores is, because he works everywhere, while Dolores works here and there, although when she works, she is amazing. So both banners have good enough volley. Both banners receives a gold award. I prefer to go for Lolo first, because like I said, he works everywhere. And then I'll decide what to do with Dolores later, because I still want her as well. The next banners are not as popular, so you may decide to skip them. Those 2 banners are nice. Depending on your gens, you can even go for both. But if you had to choose, I would still go for Lolo, mostly because he works everywhere, and that is amazing. But you can go wrong. That's the end of the video. If you don't agree with me, say here on the comment section. I'll be making full reviews of them later. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you soon in the next one. Goodbye.